Let's go record. All right. Well, welcome everybody to Breath Camp round 3. So Breath Camp it came as an inspiration of mine to share some of the, not only the teachings of yoga through breath work, but some of the insights and the direct revelations from my own experience of being a breathwork practitioner for going on 7 years. So I've had a lot of time engaging in different breathwork practices, different techniques, all the different names, holotropic breathing, somatic release breathwork, Wim Hof breathing, all these different names of breath practices. I've tried almost all of them. And what I continue to discover is that there's nothing new being invented when it comes to breathwork. And that the yogis, who were kind of the original spiritual scientists, they've been practicing this stuff for many generations. And I share that because breathwork is something that you can talk about and you can intellectualize, but it really is an experience that accumulates over time. And why that's important is because for me to share in the breath camp, and my intention for doing this is, one, for people who are new to breath work, to inspire them to start a breathwork practice, but two, for people who are already breathing regularly or consistently, or who have done some of these practices in the past or through their life, or maybe you already have a consistent breathing practice, to inspire you and reinvigorate your practice, and also give you some insights and tools and things that have helped me kind of understand what's happening. Because I feel like we're at a day and age where it's not enough just for us to know what to do. Like, I don't think anybody likes just to be told what to do without an explanation about why and how, and like kind of the background of what the actual magic is. And so that's sort of my attempt with this experience, is to give everybody, beginner, intermediate, advanced, more context around the real magic that's happening. And so I'll provide a mix of kind of science and modern scientific explanation, but also some of the mystical and the esoteric philosophy that is coming from yoga and tantra and these ancient wisdom traditions. And so I'll kind of bridge all that together for you. And as much as possible, we'll keep it condensed with each session so that I'm not giving you too much. And we'll work on a couple topics or concepts each week. And then we'll move into a practice so that you guys can walk away with the actual benefits of practicing. And the last thing I'll say is that it's great to do this once, but my goal with Breath Camp is to inspire us all just to have our own consistent breath hygiene practices. And so that's the concept that I'll be referring to a lot, is breath hygiene. Just like we have good tooth hygiene, we need to have good breath hygiene. And that's so important because we know that through breath training, we can train our mind. And something that I'll talk a lot about is the training of the mind, because the two are interconnected, breath and mind. So that's sort of what the Breath Camp is, just a high level overview. Does anyone have questions so far? And anybody that was here last week, you're welcome to ask questions a little later. And what I'll do is I'll make sure that this is like an ongoing discussion, and it's not just me talking, but in the initial stages, there'll be more of the discussion from my end. So just to pause for a moment. Is everyone good so far? You guys still with me? Excellent. I really feed on the energy of you guys. So it's like the thumbs up, and if I say something that's like resonating with you, just give me some juju, good juju. All right, Luke, you raised your hand. I'm gonna thumbs up, Claudia. Looks like Luke might have a question. You have a question over there?
Yeah, can you say more about what you mean by the word hygiene?
Yes. Yes. So that's a good question. Hygiene. So when I think of hygiene, I think of health generally. And when I'm talking about health, health is such a huge subject today. Like we all have our own idea of what health means. But for me, when I think of health, I think of as holistic as possible of what it means to be a healthy human being. So that means relationships, that means lifestyle, that means what I'm doing for work, how I'm doing my work, how I'm relating to people, what sort of food I'm eating, how I'm eating that food. And it's sort of like it gets to be a really broad subject. And so I'll just distill that all into saying when it comes to your question, what do I mean by hygiene, and specifically breath hygiene? How do we engage in our breathwork practices so that it benefits every other area of our life? Right? Wouldn't that be a great goal to have? Like, it would make this less of a waste of time. You know, it's like sometimes we come to the practice with certain goals or objectives, but what I'm here to tell you is that, and this is just my experience, I can't say that this was true for everyone, but my experience with breath work is learning over time that this practice truly has a holistic and very far reaching benefits to pretty much everything. Yeah, Umber's giving me some vibes. So it's like it's kind of it almost sounds too good to be true, really, and in some ways it is. And so yeah, that, I hope that answers your question. Okay, well, moving on. So before we get into the next part, so we're going to talk about the breath mind connection, and let me just check the time. Perfect. I'll probably talk for maybe 10 more minutes, and then we'll have about 20 minutes of practice together, and then about 5 minutes at the back end for if there's any questions as we close out. Does that sound good to you guys? Awesome. So this is a really beautiful way to demonstrate the mind-body connection, and I'm just going to have you do it with me. Don't overthink it. Just inhale your arms overhead and exhale your hands down. And just start to do that with your breath, with your own rhythm. So you're inhaling the arms up and you're exhaling down. And now see if you can do it only through your nose. So you're inhaling and exhaling through your nose. And try to time the movement to be exactly the same as your breath. So you don't start moving until you start breathing. All right. And then just do one more of those. Try to feel your fingertips. Try to even spread in between the webbings of your fingers. So you're trying to get life into your arms, your hands, your wrists. All right, now here's the trick. And some of you already know this one, so don't cheat, but still focus. Try to make your breath this big and try to make your movement this big. So if you can't see my hands, what I'm saying is your breath is bigger than your movement. You're gonna try to put space on both sides where it's just breath. And what I mean is you'll start breathing and then you start moving and you'll finish your movement, but you'll keep breathing for about a second. And then you start exhaling to lower your hands. Then you start moving. You finish your movement, but you keep breathing. Okay, so go ahead and give it a try. You're gonna encompass your movement in your breath. So you make your breath bigger than your movement. And try to put your body inside of your breath. Try to put your body movement inside of your breath. We'll do this about 5 or 6 more times. Your body movement is inside your breath. Really focus your mind. This requires a degree of focus that starts to bring presence and awareness to what's happening right now. We call this interoception. Your breath and being aware of your breath is your link to what's happening inside of your body. So notice if you try to rush, see if you can prevent yourself from rushing. Body movement is inside of your breath. And then take this one last time as your arms come down. You'll just keep your arms down for a moment once you're finished. No rush. And then right away, just notice the difference in your mental state, in your awareness now. And then just check in and notice if there was any difficulty with that. If there was a tendency to try to make your movement and your breath match. And then just with your eyes open, give me like a nod or let me know if that made sense. Did that exercise make sense? Did anyone have difficulty with the second one, encompassing the movement and the breath? No? Jan, did you have a question? No. Okay. So that's just a really easy way to check in, and like what I love about that exercise is it forces you to be present. It forces you to be really present. And you'll notice as you do 5 or 6 repetitions, by the second or third one, did anyone like start to want to rush or start to want to change the timing in some way? Or maybe you got bored? More conscious movement. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Amber. It's interesting. It's so simple too. And so I call that advanced yoga for complete beginners. Because what yoga is union. It brings everything together to one point. And when we're talking about presence is a really, really unique phenomenon, actually. It's quite a mystical phenomenon, if you think about it, presence. But we don't even think about that because presence is so normal. But what presence is you and I, we are transcended by a state of awareness that we're actually together as one. And that's the truth in presence. We become one consciousness. And this is something that most people don't even really think about. It's fascinating. And so we can train and we can practice our presence with ourselves, which allows us to then be present with others. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, so much energy flowing. I know, I hear you, Aini. Yeah, does anyone else have the thing where they want to be a good student? Like I'm trying to do it right. I get that. Okay, so there's 2 concepts that I'm going to introduce today, now that we've had that kind of an experience, and then we'll go into the practice. And so those concepts are, well, first of all, we have to understand that yoga comes from a tradition where they see consciousness as fundamental, meaning they see that this whole, everything that we're doing is emerging from the mind, is emerging from consciousness. And so when we understand that, we understand why breathwork practice is so important, because what breathwork practice does is it allows us to get more consciousness into our body. And what this looks like is a lot of times our consciousness, it goes out through our senses, through our eyes, through our ears, through our nose, through our mouth, and it engages in the world, and it starts to look for things. And so the reason meditation is often so difficult is because the mind is still conditioned to go looking for things. And so when you close the eyes and you close your senses and you turn inward, what is happening? The mind's like, there's still a whole world in here. It's still trying to solve all these problems. It's trying to think about what it's going to do next. But to become fully present, You actually need some sort of activity that causes the mind to become engaged in where it's emerging so that you are here. And I'm telling you that presence is a superpower. It's literally your way to create. Everything that you create comes out of your present state awareness. Because what happens if we're not present, we repeat the past. When we're not present, we repeat the past. If you're not present, you're a program. I think Joe Dispenza or someone like that says this. And so the reason what makes breathwork practice so effective is it literally helps us regulate our nervous system to become more present, to become more embodied. But as we get into some of the deeper yogic techniques, because it's not, we're not just breathing, like there's actually a focus there. It starts to undo the karma, which is our past repeating itself, right? We all know this word karma. And we start to free up life force, which is the yogis call prana. You guys know this word, prana? So the two concepts, karma and prana. Karma is cause and effect. And what happens with karma is if we don't deal with it, we put it in front of us and we call it our future, but it's really our fate. So karma that's not dealt with becomes our fate. But if you actually start to deal with your karma, it becomes your dharma. You guys know this word dharma? So you have your karma, you have your past, which I don't know about you, but I'm trying to free myself of the things in my past that are repeating themselves so that I can become a creator. That's what I want for myself, and that's what I want for all of you. That's what I want for all of humanity. I want all of us to remember our capacity to create. And I want to hang out with people who are creating because that's fun. We get to play. Otherwise, we just start to, I'm not going to repeat myself, no pun intended. Now we have prana, concept number 2, life force. Prana is bound into karmic structures until we start to free it and get it moving in our system, which is why things like dance, which is things like singing, things like chanting, things like breath work, they all get the energy and the life force to move in us, which is inherently creative and intelligent. Prana is inherently creative and intelligent. It flows where it needs to go. Just like when you were first born and you were a baby and the sperm and the egg came together, even before you were a baby, the sperm and the egg came together. This is how all of us got here. I don't know if you knew that. A stork didn't deliver you to mom and dad's doorstep. A sperm and an egg came together, which is the yin and the yang, right? The masculine and the feminine, which we all have. Everything in nature has opposites combining to create. And guess what? That thing then divided to become 2 cells to 4 to 8, 64, whatever, exponentially growing. Now, here's what I want you to think about is how did some of those cells know to go upward to create a head, and then some of them to know to go downward to create your butt? How? How did that happen? What force in the universe organized the head being the head and the butt being the butt, right? Somehow those cells knew. My dad would just kill me if I said this. He's like, plants aren't intelligent. My dad would always say that. Plants aren't intelligent. I'm like, what do you mean plants aren't intelligent? Anyways, so there was an intelligence is my point. There was an intelligence saying go upward, and there was intelligence saying go downward. And I won't get into the whole details because this is what we call the pranavayus. There's actually movements of energy in the universe that are fundamental to everything. And those are the movements of prana. One is upward, one is downward, one is outward, one is inward, one is around. This is kind of like physics, if you think about it. And so where am I going with all this? Your prana, as you start to harness it, as you start to get more prana in your organism, which is what breath work is designed to do, your life force starts to flow and it starts to move in the direction of the things that you actually want, not the things that are repeating, like not your past. And so if you don't, I don't want to, actually, I won't say this. My theory is that if we have less prana in our organism, meaning less life force flowing, we become more automatic. And I think everybody can verify a time in their life where they felt more energized, more alive, more vibrant, and how much easier it was to do shit, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm able to do more work. Because guess what? What is energy? In physics, energy is the ability to do work. That is what our scientists say, and from a physics standpoint. Energy is the ability to do work. You know, we talk about energy and, you know, all that good energy, bad energy, blah, blah, blah. It's like energy is literally the ability to do work, right? To create. So what I want to do now, we have those two concepts, prana and karma. What I want to do now is to put more prana in our organism so that less of our karmas are running the show. Are you guys game on for that? Awesome. So now you have sort of a context around what is happening when it comes to pranayama, because pranayama is not breath work per se. Pranayama is the yogic word that means to restrain the life force. That is what pranayama means. A lot of times pranayama gets conflated with breath work, but it's not exactly the same. They're different words. They mean different things. Because as you restrain the life force, you can do both at once. In fact, oftentimes you're doing both at once. But what makes pranayama different is the mind is involved. Again, you're not just breathing. You're breathing, but you're aware of what's happening. Does that make sense? You're bringing your life force back. You're restraining it and bringing it back home so that you're not so involved in all the things your karma wants you to be involved in. And if we train ourselves to do this over time, this is what breath hygiene is. We no longer are so plugged in to all of the patterns and the programs that we think is who we are, and we start to reclaim our creatorship. Kind of cool, huh? So I think I've said enough. Before we jump into the practices, which we'll do two different practices, and I'll explain what they are in a moment. Does anyone have any questions about what we covered so far? Does anyone need clarification? It's making sense? Awesome. All right. So technical. So again, we're doing two practices, okay? We're gonna call these breathwork practices that I share, they're called kriyas. Does anyone, raise your hand if you've heard this word kriya? Okay, so a kriya is an action that liberates energy. A kriya is an action that liberates energy. It's not exclusive to a breathwork technique. If you decide to sweep your floor in your bedroom instead of scroll on Facebook, that might be a kriya. That might be an action that liberates energy instead of repeating the past. A kriya is the opposite of karma. Okay, karma is an action that binds energy, actually. Does that make sense? So we use kriya to liberate ourselves from the karma by getting more prana. That's kind of a high level overview. Does that make sense? Use kriya to liberate yourself from karma by getting more prana. So this first exercise is called the double breathing kriya. It's very simple. I'm going to say don't overthink it. A lot of you guys are familiar with this, but some of you are new, so we're just going to keep it super simple. Okay, so just make sure that your spine is straight, because your spine is your highway that carries information from the world up in through your body into your brain, and your brain decodes that information of the world, and then it sends a response down into your body so that you can interact. So your spine is like it's the two-way street. And what we want to get is that two-way street to actually be clear. So nice straight spine. Now it's a two inhales through your nose and then two exhales through your mouth. So just join in with me once you get the hang of it. Keep going. Don't stop. Now stay with this pattern. You're going to keep a nice, easy rhythm. Now try to put a little bit of space. Okay, so there's a little space at the top and a little space at the bottom. Now relax any unnecessary tension or stress that you feel in your body. Stay really easy with your body and try to deepen the breath. And try to feel more of your body. Okay, so you're breathing and your mind is paying attention. This is how you bring prana. We always hear energy goes where the attention is, or prana flows where energy goes. So keep your attention on your body. Try to feel your fingers and your toes. Try to feel your organs. Try to feel your heart. Try to feel your brain. And now as you're doing this exercise, see if you can relax a little more and take a little bit of the edge off. Okay, so no force, but deep breath. Deep breath, awareness of your body. We'll do 5 more times. So you're harnessing Shakti, you're harnessing prana. You're bringing it into your organism. You're freeing karma through the use of Kriya. And you'll do 1 more of those breaths. I want you to exhale completely all the way out. Good. Now inhale through your nose. Nice, slow, deep inhale through your nose. Get to the top of the breath. Hold the breath in. Relax your body. And now imagine you're threading your fingers through a glove and you're trying to fit your body inside of this full body suit. Like your body is expanding into the space around it. You're meeting life. You're meeting the energy of life fully with your body and with your breath. Now keep this awareness, keep meeting the space that you're in and start exhaling, but don't collapse. Try not to shrink, okay? So slow, easy exhale without shrinking. And get to the bottom of the out breath whenever you get there and just relax. See if you don't need to breathe at all. There will be a space where you can just relax without breath. And stay there for as long as you comfortably can. The yogis call this kumbhaka, breath retention. The breathless state where you just feel and you don't need to think because you're so filled with life. Stay relaxed, stay easy, and when you need to breathe, nice, slow, deep inhale through the nose. We'll just take about 10 more seconds. And with your eyes closed, just notice the difference in your body and in your mind with just 1 round of the double breathing Kriya. It took us about 2.5 minutes to complete that exercise. Very good. Very, very simple. Very simple. Excellent. All right. And then once you're done, just go ahead and open your eyes and let me know that you're still here. And give me a thumbs up if you want. Awesome. Cool. Okay. So I'm not going to talk too much because we're into practice mode. But what I want to say is that exercise we did has one purpose, and the next exercise has a slightly different purpose. Okay. We might feel that we are able to lift more energy and bring more energy into our body, which is true. That exercise requires more oomph. Okay. And so what that does is it brings, actually, I won't even get into that. What I want to do, I'll offer a workshop in the future where we dive into the science and we talk about the polyvagal theory and all the stuff that's happening in the nervous system, but it's not so important right now. What's important is you guys just have the technique and the exercise. You already have enough, but it's you're bringing more Shakti, and now you have to actually organize that Shakti, because otherwise it wants to just go out and wants to do this. So how do we organize that Shakti? Well, we have this amazing app called the Insight Timer, and it has a little wood block, and you're going to hear the wood block go off right about, you guys hear that? Okay, it's going to go right now. So that's a 6-second timer. It'll do that every 6 seconds. For the next 7 minutes, we're going to train the mind to be super focused and super precise. Okay, so your mind is wanting to expand now that you have more Shakti. It wants to, but what we want to do is to harness that and to really put it in a channel. Okay, so the wood block timer, every 6 seconds, you'll hear it. And I'm going to say breathe in, and you're going to inhale for 6 seconds. And then you're going to breathe out. You're going to exhale for 6 seconds. And then it's just going to go like this. Inhale, exhale. You guys got it? Super simple. But as we get into it, I'm going to add little enhancements. And depending on your level as a breathwork practitioner, these enhancements will come easier or harder. It doesn't matter. There's no level. There's a progression, which is great. Okay. And so just all you need to do, the most important thing is that you use your mind to participate in the technique. That's it. And so for 7 minutes, I want you guys to promise me that you'll focus as much as you can. Like make this 7 minutes the most important part of your day. And this is how we solve all the problems of the mind because the mind. So for 7 minutes, we're here. You guys good? Game on? All right. So just take an exhale. Full exhale breath down your spine. Now breathe in for 6 seconds. And when you hear the wood block, start your exhale, travel down. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhaling. Exhaling. And if this is new for you, it might be a stretch. That's fine. Breathe in. Breathe out. All right, now I'm going to start talking a little bit. Focus on the wood block. That's your inhale. Every time you hear the wood block, it's your cue to breathe in the opposite direction, breathing out. Stay focused on the cue. Inhaling. And try not to lose your place. Exhaling. Now here's your next step, okay? See if you can notice the column of air between your butt and your head. Exhaling. There's a column of air. from the base of your spine, traveling up the front of your spine, and it goes right out through the crown of your head. Exhaling. It's like this axis that your body rests on. Breathing in. Breathing out. And so if you want to take this technique to the next level, you're focused on this column of air and you're going to travel up as you breathe in. You're going to travel down as you breathe out. Okay? Traveling up on the inhale, up your spine, into your brain. Down with the exhale. All right, stay with that awareness. Stay relaxed in your body. Soften your heart. Soften your brain. Focus on the technique. Excellent. Now, if you want to take it to the next level is we become aware of the spinal centers. In yoga, we call these chakras. Exhale. And so those spinal centers start at the base of the spine and they travel up into the third eye. There's 6 of them in the Kriya Yoga tradition. So from the third eye, you pass the throat, you pass the heart, you pass the solar plexus, sacrum, base of spine, and then base of spine, sacrum, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, looping down, throat, heart, solar plex, base, sacrum, solar plex, heart, throat, third eye, traveling down. And if that's too much, don't worry about it. Go back to the simple inhale, up the column, exhale down the column. So this is now bringing your mind into a more sharper and more refined focus. Breathing in. Breathing out. Why this is so important is because your brain projects itself down into the body. Breathing in, up the spine. Breathing out, down the spine. And you're clearing out that channel of projection. Inhaling. Exhaling. So if you're aware of the spinal centers, then there's Bija mantras that go with it. I will say them out loud. See if you can follow along with me internally. Inhaling, you get to the third eye. You exhale, you pass the throat, you pass the heart, solar plex, sacrum. Now it's lum, vam, rum, yum, hum, om, hum, yum, rum, vam, lum. If that doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry about it. If you are familiar with those Bija mantras, you can say them internally as you cross through the chakras. Spinal breathing with spinal center awareness. Om, hum, yum, rum, bum, lum. Continue on your own. Excellent. 2 more cycles of breath. If you're aware of the bandhas and the mudras, you can use them. But right now, you're regulating your nervous system to become balanced. Okay? And so now we're going to create more of a parasympathetic response by doubling the length of the exhale. So you're exhaling for 12 seconds now. You should be able to transition nice and easy. Keep exhaling. Inhale for 6. Exhale for 12. Exhale for 6. Inhale for 6. Exhale for 12. Exhale for 6. Inhale for 6. Exhale for 12. Exhale for 6. Try to stay with this pattern for 2 more cycles of breath. And you're relaxing the space between your heart and your spine. You're relaxing the space between your heart and your spine. Keep exhaling. This moves us into the dorsal vagal complex in your nervous system. Exhale for 12, activating your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest. Exhaling for 6, putting you into a immune system boosting. Inhaling for 6, stress reducing, karmic clearing state of consciousness. Exhaling for 12. Exhaling for 6. So now to transition out of this breathing practice, you're inhaling for 6. I want you to hum for the full 12 seconds. So you're humming with your mouth closed. You're gonna keep humming. Inhale 6. Hum for 12. And now send the vibration of the hum into your entire body, to your fingertips, into your toe tips, to your heart, to your brain. Inhale 6. Hum for 12. Good. 3 ohms. Inhale for 6. And a 12-second ohm. Two more times. Last one. Just keeping the eyes closed, relaxed, easy breath. Breathe as easily and normally as possible. Almost like you're being breathed. Like you're being breathed. And that the breath is just happening on its own. Notice the quality of your breath. And very slowly and easily, just bring your palms to prayer at your heart. And take a bow to your own process, your own awakening journey. Bow to everything that has ever led you along on your path to this process of healing, of growing and transforming as human beings. And so thank you to all of those who've gone before us. And thank you to the great mystery of this creation. May you all be blessed with a beautiful day, beautiful health, and flowing prana in your system. Namaste. And so it's just this beautiful energy that we've cultivated just really quickly, or not so quickly, just to have a moment to send the blessing on all the faces in the gallery view that are here with you. Just thanking the people from Austria, Portugal, Switzerland, Arizona, Texas, Michigan. And all the plants, animals, Costa Rica, trees. Excellent. So there you guys have two different breath techniques. Those are going to be primary techniques that we work with in the breath camp, because they kind of do two different things, and we're bringing them together to give you a really holistic understanding and training for the mind, for the energy, for the prana. And my wish is that we all really develop good hygiene practices around the breath. And so thank you so much for your presence here. It means a lot to be able to share this. If you feel inclined to donate, I'm gonna drop in the chat. There's a PayPal option and there's a Venmo option for anybody who wants to contribute to keep this going. There's also there's a few things that I just want to announce. I'm going to be creating a curriculum where we actually dive deeper into these topics one by one, because breathwork is such a huge subject. So just stay tuned for that. It'll be like an 8-week maybe container where we have a chance to be more interactive and actually take these practices further. But if you just want to come for breath camp, we'll keep doing this weekly on a donation basis. So yeah, just stay tuned for that. And then there's a retreat coming up in March in Costa Rica. So if you guys want to join in person and dive deeper into the stuff in the retreat setting, that's also, all this information will be on the website. So you guys can see it there. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I've been like getting in touch with the concept of Dharma a lot lately. And I would somehow like to hear how you see the transition of like karma, breath, and Dharma.
Oh, this is such a good. I also understand that it's a little bit past 10 o'clock. So if anyone needs to go, we've exhausted our hour. I told you again, there will be a recording sent out with the replay. But this is a really important question. So something I'm realizing about Dharma is a lot of times we think of Dharma as like our life purpose, right? And Buddha talked a lot about Dharma. And so you may have heard this word before, or actually raise your hand if you've heard this word Dharma before. Okay, almost all of you guys. So Dharma is it's a Sanskrit word, and it often translates as, I personally, my favorite translation is that which uplifts and upholds the entire universe. And so we all know what dharmic action is by the way that it feels to us. And what I mean by that is, when you did the right thing because you don't need to tell anybody about it. You just know. And something in you innately knows that we know what alignment is. We know what it feels like. And we don't need to prove that to anybody. We don't need to have anybody confirm us in that. Does that make sense? Yeah, Michelle, I'll do that. So Dharma how it relates to breath work and karma or karma, the way I'm understanding it and how, especially with your question. So karma is sort of like psychic residue, like things that are in the nervous system that are etched in the nervous system and cause us to repeat them. And so in the Eastern traditions, we think of the crown chakra as sort of the energy comes in the crown, cosmic energy comes in the crown, and then it flows through the body through the nadis. And so the way you can think of that is like there is a constant flow of source energy coming in through our crown and going through the body. And what our personality is the matrix of rivers that causes that energy to flow a certain way. Does that make sense? And so what yoga and what spiritual practice is designed to do is to take the Kundalini Shakti and send it back up so that it can come back down again and take a different route so that it can change. And now what Dharma is the cycle of that. It's because otherwise this is the karma. The karma is it's saying, oh, it's going that way, it's going to keep going that way. And what you as a practitioner get to do is say, wait a second, if it's going that way and that doesn't feel in alignment, I can use Kriya, or I can use my yoga or meditation practice or whatever, and I can reroute that energy and bring the Kundalini up because it's all designed around Kundalini. I can bring it back up so that source can redirect it. And here's the funny thing. I don't think we get to choose how source redirects it. I think we get to just allow, and source gets to guide us. And that's what Dharma is you allow source to guide you and you say, yes, thumbs up to that. Thank you, God. Thank you, universe. I don't even know like how it worked, but it did that. And that felt good. That felt better than this other way. Does that make sense to you guys? So to undo the karma, we just do the stuff that we know helps us undo karma. We bring the energy back up to the cloud above, the cosmic energy above, and we just say, I am open to receiving guidance, and I am open to following that guidance. And your openness and your allowance of that energy to flow through you is Dharma. And as it flows through you, you experience it as prana. You experience it as vibrancy, as life force, as enthusiasm for the mystery. And that enthusiasm for the mystery is for me what this whole thing is about. Because life is complicated, but we overcomplicate it and we don't need to. We just need to embrace the fact that there's things that we will never know, and that's actually a cool thing. So that's my spiel on Dharma and karma and prana and breathwork. I hope does that answer the question, or does that make more questions? Sometimes it makes more questions. Maybe that's just something for us to digest together. So next topic will be Kundalini, because Kundalini kind of ties into that as well. But just know that your life purpose isn't something that you find. It's something that's experienced in the moment. It's not like, oh, you have to do this career or that career, or you be in this, it's like, for me, it doesn't work like that. It just means you're taking the right action that supports the whole thing. And that can be done right now. That can be done when you do dishes. That can be done in what you eat for dinner. That can be done in all of those things. Good question. Claudia, you have a hand raised.
I think you just asked us to raise our hands at a different point, so I raised it. So that was before, but thank you.
You're welcome. Oops. And yes, Sean, thank you. I'm just reading the chat. Thank you for the knowledge and guidance. Yes, you're welcome. And Michelle, I wrote the Lam Vam Ram Yam Hum Om. Those are the seed sounds. Those are called Bija mantras. Bija equals seed. And so the Bija mantras are the ways that you send sonic bombs to clear. You guys want me to explain that for just a moment? Are you interested in this piece? This is how you retrain the limbic brain. So you have three brains. You have the reptilian brain, which is your spinal cord and your brainstem. you have your mammalian brain, which is your limbic brain, and then you have your human brain, which is your neocortex. Okay, and so you can think of it like this. This is what your brain. This is your spine. This is where your all right. This is a little better example. Here's your spine. You have your brainstem here. This is your reptilian brain. Your mammalian brain is here, and then you have your cortex, and you have your higher brain functions. Now, why is that important? The limbic brain is where your emotions are, and this is like why mammals are quite distinctly different than reptiles, right? Reptiles, you don't really see emotions in the reptile, because reptiles, they function purely on instinct and survival. Well, the thing is, so do we, but we have emotions, and we have the ability to plan and strategize and do all this stuff, which is the higher functions of the brain. Now, what the yogis figured out is that the higher functions of the brain, they start to lose their function, and we start to actually revert back to reptilian functions when we get stressed out. And so even subtle levels of stress turn off blood flow to the third eye, to these higher centers, the centers that allow us to actually think in a way that's rational. And we start to behave like literally survive. We start to just want to survive, right? If you've ever had a stress about money or relationships or like any of those things, you're no longer thinking practically. And so what the Bija mantras do, and what we were doing with the spinal breathing, and I was saying, you know, especially if this is new to you, it was kind of a lot, but we'll go into more of it. Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Hum, Om are the sounds that help vibrate and create, bring prana to Om, third eye, Hum, throat, Yam, heart, Ram, solar plexus, Vam, sacrum, and Lam, base of the spine. And what all you need to know is that each of the centers has a different flavor of, they're kind of different dimensions of consciousness, meaning your capacity to survive is much more horizontal. It's more like a yes or no in terms of cognitive function than your capacity to relate to humans versus your capacity to express yourself or your capacity to visualize and create, which is a much more vertical function. Does that make sense from the standpoint of consciousness? You're either going yes or no, binary, get out of the street now. You know, car's coming, need food, need sex, right? Those are very horizontal, primitive functions that are also under your care and control. But as you elevate in consciousness, your ability to interact with the world with more complexity and with more finesse are responsibilities of these higher chakras, which correspond to different parts of the brain. So that was just like really brief. I know that was a lot too, but that gives, you're training yourself to have flow basically between your lower centers and your higher centers. And a good way to test that for yourself, the last thing I'll say, is you start to become aware, oh, my base, I don't feel it very much. When I say Lam and I bring my attention down to my base, it's kind of offline, but I feel my heart a lot better. And what you want to do is you create such a flow between all the centers that you feel all of them. And that's retraining your prana to be where it needs to be in your central channel. Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Hum. You could do that for hours and hours and hours, and it would work amazing. It would be great. Someday we will. Okay. Thanks for listening. I love this stuff so much. It's so exciting for me. So I'm really stoked to be sharing it with you. And yeah, does anyone have last questions before we check off here? Go ahead and take a picture and tag me on social media, tag everybody, connect with everybody. I'll get the whole Sangha connected, and we'll just keep this going so that more people can come in you know, I just love sharing this. I think it's so important. And yeah, I hope to see you next week, next Wednesday. And yeah, stay in touch. Recording will be sent out. More educational videos be sent out. And yeah, remember to donate if you want. There's in the chat, there's a PayPal and Venmo network. All right. Lots of love, you guys. Mwah, mwah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Be well. Keep breathing. Breath hygiene. Peace.